Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Charlie Adams and you're watching Guerrilla Coffee TV. Today I have with me my fiance, business partner, and soulmate, Brenna Ellliott. Welcome, Brenna.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yes, welcome, very much so.
It's about time.
Right, yeah, well, it's, I've been asking, so. So we're gonna do another weekly update and we have some fun news to discuss. Did you want to start us off, or?
So I had recently read this article. Right now everyone's doing the whole Florida Man Challenge. Maybe about a month ago or something, that was really popular on the internet. And I came across this article that a sheriff in Florida had made a tweet kind of saying, that women don't like to be outdone by men. And he made a reference to the Florida Man Challenge. And
yeah, what did she do?
So this woman, it was like the middle of the night, like 3 a.m., and she blows through a stop sign and gets pulled over. And there's a few other people in the car too, and the sheriff asks them, what are they doing out so late? What are they doing in the middle of the night? And they said they were collecting frogs. They were like at a local, like at an overpass, and they were underneath the bridge, like looking for frogs. And so he asked to see the animals because I guess it's common that people have alligators, and you're technically not allowed to possess that. And so they actually ended up finding 43 turtles in the car. And they say, this is what we found. And I think he asked him to get out of the car and asked if there was anything else. And the woman pulls an alligator out of her yoga pants. Like she stuffed an alligator in her pants.
That's fucked up. That makes me think of how all those like sexual position things, like the hot lunch and like the glass bottom boat and all that stuff. There was one where they did a lobster, like the girl takes a lobster and holds a lighter to his face, so his tail. Is it something like that?
I'm sure you could think of something.
Right. So yeah, that's fun. So other news, China tariffs, right? So I guess Donald Trump is trying to impose tariffs on all goods or most goods imported from China. And I guess a lot of people are upset about that because of how it's going to raise the cost on products that we're commonly using, namely the iPhone. It's going to drive up the price of the iPhone, which is already fucking expensive. And I don't know, I think about that subject and I just kind of I don't know, I was thinking about it the other day and I was talking to you about it, how just the idea that we have, the fact that we produce, that we depend so much on all these things coming out of China to begin with, it's just this, it's an example of just our typical American indulgent culture and just how we always want more for less. And it's, we've kind of put ourselves in these positions where we become dependent on these other countries. Like China, for example, we have a debt to China of something like $3 or $4 trillion. I'm not even sure the number.
Holy smokes.
Huh?
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's a lot. And so we're already depending on them to produce and create all the things that we enjoy. We're already indebted to them, and now we're placing tariffs on them. So I don't know what the outcome of that kind of stuff is. I mean, ultimately, China's going to get pretty pissed off. But I think it's just it's like a, what do they call it in the stock market? Like when the market kind of drops, it's a correction, in our sort of indulgent sort of nature, is that, we want more and more for less, and now we're being forced to take less and pay more for it. And so hopefully this will kind of steer people in the direction of using more American goods and being encouraged to produce more things locally in the United States. So I don't know, what do you think about that stuff?
I mean, I agree. I think that hopefully it'll inspire people to bring production back to America. And then at the end of the day, Americans will have better income and, unemployment rates will drop.
Yeah, it's tough to, I don't know what it really takes to really kind of encourage that sort of action, because ultimately I want that. I want everything to be produced in the United States. I think that we're capable of that. I think that it's sad that that we were forced, or I don't even know that it was forced. I mean, it's just greed ultimately. It's anytime a company decides to to have their product produced in another country because it's cheaper. I mean, ultimately, it's about profit and increasing margins. And there has to be somewhere along the lines where you say like, okay, like I'm making enough money and I'm doing a huge disservice to the country that I'm making my money from by stripping them of employment opportunities and stripping them of fair wages and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there has to be, if there was going to be any kind of laws put in place, I think that it would demand larger corporations to create and produce more things locally. There just has to be some way to kind of re-steer this whole kind of.
Yeah, I think that some of it is like also environmental. Like some of those things we don't produce in America because of the emissions that it creates, and we have laws in place to prevent those kinds of things. And I don't know, I've never been to China, but you often see like pictures of like the big cities and the smog and like how just dirty it looks there. And I think that probably plays a big part in it too.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So I don't know. I think we're a far cry from really figuring out how to do it right. But hopefully this kind of starts to steer us. So on to Game of Thrones. Who gives a shit? The fucking show is stupid. I've never watched it. I never will watch it, and I constantly make fun of people who do. So next. A couple in.
Moving right along.
So a couple in, I don't know, out west somewhere, I guess, just was awarded $2 billion from the company. Well, it was decided in court that Monsanto owed this couple $2 billion for a lawsuit that they had filed because the couple had developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from using a popular weed killer called Roundup. And I don't know. It's pretty fucked up because I mean everybody uses weed killer, and there's a lot of argument behind the need for it because our increasing population, our increasing need for produce and agriculture, all that kind of stuff. You have to use weed killers. You have to use insecticides. Like it's impossible to create enough without these kind of chemicals. But sadly, there are consequences to using them. And so this couple. I know the wife, I was reading about it, and the wife in particular has brain tumors. She has like $20,000 a month in medications and chemotherapy type stuff, and it's just terrible. But $2 billion, I mean, even if I only had like a year to live, $2 billion, I can't even imagine I'd probably be.
I'm just curious like how they ended up getting it. I mean, I use Roundup at my house, we used it at home. And there's warning labels all over it. You're supposed to wear gloves. I definitely don't wear gloves, but I mean, like, was she drinking it? Like, did they like look into that at all, or were they just like, okay, like this is what happened and we're gonna pay you for it?
That they said that that it was kind of controversial that they were even awarded the money because that they had other things that they were doing. I didn't get too deep into it, but they had other things that were in their lifestyle that contributed to giving them sort of a predisposition to
Right.
So the Monsanto Roundup stuff was just icing on the cake sort of thing. I don't know, $2 billion, I'd be partying my ass off, you know what I mean? I would definitely be having fun. I'd take care of the family.
Well, yeah, take care of the family. I was gonna say, if they have kids or anything, I hope that, they don't just blow all the money.
Right. And then the other thing I had was a woman, this is crazy, so sadly, there's this woman that her entire family has had a history of, they have some kind of genetic, whatever. They have a gene, basically, that has caused all the women in her entire family, most of the women in her entire family, to have or to develop breast cancer. And so her family entered into a study, and all the children were studied. They were like given samples of their blood and stuff like that to test for this gene when they were kids, and they weren't allowed to know the outcome of the testing until they were adults. For whatever reason, I don't know, just so it wouldn't screw up their childhood if they found out that they were eventually going to have breast cancer. And so this one girl, I guess when she got old enough, because she had been she was told by a doctor that the results of her study was that she did have the gene and that she was going to develop, it was likely she would develop breast cancer. It was like 100% chance that she would develop breast cancer. And so she took preventative measures and got a double mastectomy. And then later on, after she had gotten a mastectomy, she went to the doctor to get a follow-up check to see like if she had developed any cancer or any of that kind of stuff. And they found out that she never had the gene at all, and that the initial test was completely wrong. And so she had basically chopped her tits off prematurely. And yeah, I don't know. I mean,
That's insane. I wonder if she's suing the doctors.
Right.
I mean, she has to be. Even if she had insurance coverage to cover all of that, she still would have had all the out-of-network costs or, deductibles.
It wasn't even medically supported for her to get the mastectomy. It was just she had been informed that she had the gene that would pretty much ensure that she would get breast cancer. But she went ahead and just got the mastectomy. She's like, I'm gonna take preventative measures before it ever develops, and I'm gonna get this done. So it was on her own. It was totally up to her that she did this. No doctor was saying like, you have cancer and your life is at risk, but they were saying that you have the gene.
That's still like super fucked up though. Like if other women in her family had that gene and she watched them go through, cancer treatments and chemo and everything, she was probably terrified. And I get why she did it, but
yeah, it's
bizarre.
Ugly. Yeah, it's ugly. I don't know. I think I would probably just wait, you know what I mean, to find out if I did develop it. Because even if there is like a chance that you're going to, or even if it's a really strong possibility you are going to develop breast cancer, I think I would still probably, preventative measures would be like diet and, like limiting your exposure to certain things, not like, mutilating
right,
yourself. So
consistent checkups
right,
and things
stuff.
like that.
I don't know. That's extreme. But she got on the news for it, so I don't know. The only other thing that I saw that was interesting was I guess the Wall Street Journal did a story on kids that were getting caught with burner phones. So like kids were overindulging with the cell phone thing and the smartphones and social media, and it's become such a huge part of like youth and just people in general. And I guess some concerned parents had been like taking the phones from the kids. They say you can't use your phone past 6 o'clock or when you're at home or whatever the deal is. And so kids after watching things like all those fucked up drug dealer TV shows that we watched, like what was the one that was like in Chicago? I forget.
The Ozark show?
No, not the Ozark one. It was like an all black like drug dealer show. I think it was based in Chicago, or I don't know. Anyway, so these kids are watching these stupid fucking shows and they get the idea of having burner phones like the drug dealers have, and so these kids, like 13, 14-year-old kids, are going out and buying like Go phones or whatever the hell those cheap ones are, and so I don't know. I guess it's happening with enough volume that the fucking Wall Street Journal wanted to write an article on it. But that's all I have. You have anything else?
I mean, it makes sense. There's like a lot of things that like your parents would let you do when you were a little kid, but it would like only be a little bit, or like only this one time. And of course, like you would like sneak and like do it later.
Right.
Or even like with the vaping and the Juuls and everything that they have now, like parents say you can't smoke cigarettes. Well, all my friends have a Juul. I'm gonna go get it. They didn't say I couldn't Juul, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like, I don't know, I just struggle with this concept. Like, I always think about it, and I don't know that there's really anything that can really be done about it, but I mean, just like, there's so much evidence. They talk about, so nationally we have the opiate epidemic that's, not as many people are talking about, still exists, still lots of people dying. Addiction is being diagnosed, far more than it ever has been in history, and it's just like, I don't know, that somewhere along the line we've as people have gotten really fucking twisted, whether it's through overexposure to this sort of I don't know, just this overall sense of you are lacking in every way, and so you need more of whatever it is that we're selling to make you feel good. You need more electronics, you need more status on social media, you need more money, you need to look prettier. All these different things are contributing to, our behaviors. I mean, addiction initially was always a thing that was diagnosed as a result of, certain criteria, right? If you met certain criteria, then you have the disease of addiction. And they believed that the disease of addiction was hereditary, and they had even proven that. But there's no way that, the thousands of people who are diagnosed with addiction now have some sort of genetic predisposition. It has to be a result of this sort of, feeling of less than and this position of constant need. You know what I mean? And I think that just like the Chinese tariff thing, I think that's part of it. That's like an example of it being illustrated. I think that the cell phone thing is another example of it. Just like kids, from a very young age are already feeling like they don't have enough of, and that they're not good enough, and that they need more. And it's just, it's going to be, if we don't start taking some kind of action, like these parents who are kind of trying to shut the kids' phones off. If we're not doing more of that kind of stuff, then we're probably going to be in some bad shape, worse shape than we already are. So, I don't know. That's my opinion. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you everybody for watching Guerrilla Coffee TV. Please comment, please like the videos, please subscribe to the channel, tell your friends. Thank you for watching.
Peace.
Peace.